We are America's tackle shop. Anything fishing related, it's here at Fish USA.
Hey guys, Chad over Kayak Bass Fishing, and so we had Tate do a video for us. We got Tate's take on his top 3 lures. It's like a tongue twister, Tate's take on his top 3. Anyway, we got Tate to do a video. We'll link that up in the description box. But while I was listening to him talk about his top takes on the lures that he fishes and the ones that he gets confidence in, he actually, talked about tournament fishing, right? And we've talked offline about your tournament fishing, and then you just recently got into fishing KBF tournaments. But talk about that progression, because there's a lot of people out there that are intimidated or maybe intimidated about fishing KBF events. They fish a lot of local events, and so I'm going to jump off of here. I'm going to let you just talk to the folks about what is it. How does that transition work for you? Where do you go from, fishing your local events and against anglers that you know on your own water to taking that next step and fishing bigger events and even, driving 6, 8, 10 hours to a lake you may not have even fished before? So anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Tate and let him give you his take on when you make the step. God, I like that, Tate's take. Hashtag Tate's take. Anyway, we're going to let him give you his take on when you make that leap and start fishing against stiffer competition.
Hey guys, my name's Tate Schwab. We're here at Fish USA. I'm just going to talk a little bit about how I worked my way into the KBF. I originally started fishing a bunch of club events, different club events. I was up in New York, Michigan, Ohio, here in PA. I was traveling different areas, fishing these club events. And for the longest time, I felt like I wasn't good enough to be in the KBF with a lot of these guys. Because a lot of these guys, they really know their stuff. They're just crazy how good they are. And I just was intimidated by that. So eventually I started placing a little bit higher in the club events. So I felt like, okay, maybe I'm going to take my first step and do my first KBF event, which was a fairly big event. It was the KBF Open here on Erie. And what I did was I put my entry fee in, and I was very nervous, very excited to compete with these people that are in the KBF. They're just amazing. Put my entry fee in, I showed up to the event, showed up to the captain's meeting, everything else, and I actually ended up doing fairly well. Even though it was on my home water, I actually ended up finishing in 9th place. And that was my very first ever KBF event. So that built up my confidence a little bit. So I became a KBF member. I plan on doing all the Northeast KBF tournaments this year, including the Erie one. And Santa Cooper, that was another tournament here at the beginning of the year. It was the first KBF event of the year, closest to where I'm at, which is Erie, PA, where Fish USA is at. And I drove down there with a buddy all through the night. We got there Friday morning, and we pre-fished all day Friday. So I didn't get much sleep, and that's why I know a lot of these tournament guys do. They drive all through the night just so they can get their fishing in. And we got a hotel room, we stayed the night, woke up the next morning, we went out for the tournament, and I was having a terrible day at the very beginning. And I understand that a lot of other people were as well. The bite was really tough. So what we did was we just buckled down, started fishing nice and slow, because that was seeming like what the fish wanted. Because I was running moving baits all day, chatter baits, swim baits, and you name it, moving baits. I was running them, and they weren't hooking up to anything. So what I did was I threw on a Ned rig, and I just started fishing points where there was nice little drop-offs that went, well, that lake's fairly shallow, but it dropped off from about 4 foot to like 8 in a pretty quick hurry there. So what I did was I got the Ned rig, cast right out to where about that point was, and I just would slow jig it around, and that's whenever I finally started getting bit. And whenever I started catching them on that, then it finally started clicking. I started catching some fish, and then I ended up 37th out of 122. And I was very pleased with that, because there was a lot of good names out there. And so the moral of this is, if you think you can compete in the KBF, do it. If you don't think you can compete in the KBF, do it, because you might be surprised. So with Erie being my first event, like I said, I was very nervous. I went in, I ended up placing 9th, very pleased with that. But not only did that knock the edge off, feeling that I could possibly compete with some of these people, everybody in the KBF is so welcoming. from the person who runs it, the man, Chad Hoover, to everybody that helps him. Everybody's so welcoming, even the anglers. You don't find it anywhere else in tournament fishing. It's a very welcoming feeling, and I highly suggest that everybody at least tries it, experiences it. It's going to be a good time no matter what.
All right, Tate, man, that was a good, that's actually good. I've not had the opportunity to fish our events, and especially not, as a new angler. And really, it's sometimes hard to understand what the perception is and kind of what the mindset is. One of the things that I want to talk to anglers like yourself about is how do we remove some of the barriers of entry? What could we do to make, both tournament fishing in general, but especially kayak bass fishing tournaments, more appealing to anglers sooner? What opportunities can we talk about? What things can we do to continuously make it better? But it was definitely interesting to hear your analysis, that self-analysis of where you went out there and where you fished against what you would consider more regional competition. You stayed in your comfort zone. And really, I think that is the thing, is stay in your comfort zone first, build up some confidence. When you're in your comfort zone, you're already more confident in your fishing ability, so you're able to better measure yourself against other anglers. And then once you start doing well against that competition, that's when you expand your horizons. But you had the opportunity, because a KBF Open, came to you to take a shot at it. And, a top 10 finish in any event is a confidence booster. Absolutely. But, a top 10 finish against some of the best in the country has got to be something that tells you, internally, what, I can do this, right? It could have just as easily one fish this way or that, for you and 8 other guys could have been a top 2, a top place win, a win, a $10,000 check, you know what I'm saying? And a whole bunch of different things that result from that. And so I appreciate you sharing your insights and kind of your take on that concept, because it is interesting, and it's perfect to catch you at this stage, the stage where you just transitioned to the kayak bass fishing world. And so maybe this is something that, you might not feel comfortable sharing yet, but I'm going to put you on the spot. What's next? What is your next thing? I know you're fishing the KBF National Championship, but what's your plans beyond that? Are you going to continue to kind of just see how you measure up? Do you have a plan of going after Regional Angler of the Year? Like, what's your plan, moving forward in the community?
My plan is to, of course, to move on, take more steps. I try to make a bunch of goals for myself every year at before the season even begins. And one of them is actually to make top 100 at the championship. I want to fish a third day. That would be huge to me.
So making the cut.
Absolutely, yeah.
So some people, again, they have a certain thing that is their win, and for you, making the cut is a win.
Yeah,
right?
oh,
That's
yeah.
top 20%. That makes sense. Yeah. But what's next? What's the next thing after the national championship? The next step that you intend on taking in that progression of tournament fishing? Is it another trail? Is it an open? Is it a bigger event? Because we don't have opens this year per se. But what is that? What is that next thing? Okay. Like the very next thing. What do you plan on doing next?
Fishing all the Northeast events, all the KBF Northeast events. And of course, I would like to do well in the points there and hopefully, or finish in top 10, top 2, top 3, whatever it may be, to move me on to the next year's KBF championship. I always just set different goals.
Okay.
That just because I don't want to set too high of a goal and be disappointed. You know what I mean? I want to set a goal that I believe is possible. And it's still a good goal, you know what I mean? But because like I said, that top 100, that's going to be a win for me. That's going to be awesome.
Cool. So basically, you want to try to jump over a cinder block before you pole vault over a building.
Yeah.
All right, guys, that's Tate's Take. We'll see y'all in the next video. Check the description box and go follow this guy so you can, live vicariously through some of his adventures. I appreciate it, brother.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.